Hello, and welcome back. This is the second class, and it's another pre-recorded class. This class is a little different. If there's anything that you can learn from this class, next to Excel, it's this information that we're going to talk about today, which is gratification. Understanding gratification and what it is important as a business person as it relates to business activity and life. So let's get into it. Well, first of all, let me review something here. I want to make sure, have you watched last Wednesday's pre-recorded class and completed the information form from Wednesday's class? Not everybody has done it yet. You need to do it. Have you created your Schoolology.com and Classmaker.com accounts? Again, making sure that everybody has done that. Let's look at it real quick. This is Class Marker and Schoolology. Remember, you need an access code for each of these sites. Everyone has the same Schoolology code. You can find that code on our blog on the right-hand side. You look down on the right-hand side column, you'll see it. Again, let's go there. You go down, there's the code for Schoolology. Now, Classmaker is different. Classmaker will email you a code. Everybody gets their own code once you submitted the form from Wednesday's class. Again, if you remember, there was this form that I asked you to fill out. And you need to do that in order for me to get your information and connect you into some of the sites that we need. The two exams. There's going to be two exams at Classmaker.com. One for last Wednesday's class and one for today's class. They're going to be available starting tomorrow, Tuesday morning, and will close and shut down Friday at midnight. There are no extensions. There are no excuses. So if you don't have your Class Marker account already set up, if you haven't received an email from Class Marker with your unique username and ID, that's because you did not submit a form. If you did submit a form, but still did not get your Class Marker email, first of all, check your spam box in your email. Make sure it's not in spam. And then second, if you need to, send me a text message so I can check it out, see what happened. Number 5, I will have the first traditional class in which I lecture in the classroom on Wednesday, August 27th, Leadership Center in room 242. Sometimes you might see where I put room 225. And room 225 is my office, but it's room 242. If this is your first day, make sure you read and follow the directions in the previous blog from August 20th, and which includes watching my pre-recorded lecture from that day. If you haven't done that, remember this class is moving on. I have many students who have already done that work, and they're moving forward. If you're behind, you didn't do it, you're losing points. All right, let's get into gratification. Gratification is the pleasurable emotional reaction of happiness in response to fulfillment of a desire or goal. Gratification, like all emotions, is a motivator. of behavior and thus plays a role in the entire range of human social systems. So gratification is very important. Many of you chose Morehouse because what you expect to not only learn from Morehouse, but also benefit from Morehouse in the future. We'll talk about that in a minute. The question is, what's the difference between instant gratification and delayed gratification? And this is the key. This is what we want to talk about. Do you practice instant gratification or do you practice delayed gratification? Instant gratification. Somebody who wants it now. This is the behavior that leads to being poor. You spend all your paycheck. You know people like that. They get paid on Friday and they're broke by Saturday. They just got to spend their money on everything. It's crazy. Delayed gratification says, I'll wait. This kind of behavior leads to wealth creation. They save some of their paycheck for a rainy day or for retirement. So my question is to you is, do you know people, you probably know people that practice both instant gratification and delayed gratification. When you think of the people you know who practice instant gratification, what is their lifestyle like? Okay, what's their standard of living? Are they always have a paycheck and then 2 or 3 days later they're trying to borrow money to pay their car note? And what about people who practice delayed gratification? You know, I'm sure you know some of them too. Let's get into more detail here. Instant gratification is somebody who, if you look at high school and education, they're probably a high school dropout. You know people who maybe have been in high school and they say, man, high school's not for me, it's boring, I need to go make some money, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get rich, I'm going to go out and do whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to sell CDs on the corner. You know, I get these guys coming by trying to sell me a CD. I'm like, man, I don't even own a CD player anymore. But you'll see that all the time. Someone who practiced delayed gratification, college, graduate school, again, we'll talk about this in more detail. But currently, if you're at Morehouse, you're already practicing a form of delayed gratification by going to college and not looking at high school as the final stop. Let's look at instant gratification, delayed gratification as it relates to money. Someone who practices instant gratification lives beyond their means, paid on Friday, broke by Monday. Probably broke by Saturday night, Sunday. Who knows? But anyway, they never can make it from paycheck to paycheck. When you look at someone who practices delayed gratification, they save money. Now, a question we're going to talk about here in a minute, are they being cheap or are they being frugal? There's a difference, because I've had students tell me, well, you know, if I practice delayed gratification, I save money, when can I ever spend it? And, you know, that's not fun, just saving money. Now, let's talk about this. This is a little stickier, but social activity. Instant gratification is somebody, they have children early. You hear, if you ever watch Maury, they have people on there, girls talking about they want to have babies when they're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And then they have to drop out of high school, and then they're all frustrated because they got hooked up with some sorry rascal who isn't going to give them any child support because he doesn't have a job either. One thing we'll look at is that most single moms are in poverty. There's a reason for that. Practicing delayed gratification, you wait to have children. Okay? You can still have fun, you can still do all you want to do, just don't have any kids. Especially as a guy, because you don't need child support or have to pay child support directly out of high school or out of college. So you want to wait to have children. Cheap versus frugal. What's the difference? Someone who's cheap will deny themselves. So will you deny yourself, being like Scrooge? You're hungry, but man, I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna skip a meal because I don't want to spend the money. Frugal is someone who will buy what they need, but they'll buy it at a discount. So I'm not asking you to be cheap. I'm asking you to be frugal. There's a difference. So I remember growing up, and I used to save my money. People used to say, "Oh, Sis Trump, you're just cheap." No. I'll get what I want, but instead of buying a brand new car with 5 miles on it, I may buy a demo car, or I might buy a 1-year or 2-year-old car. It may have 5, 10, 15, 20,000 miles on it, which is nothing nowadays. But you can save a lot of money on the car, and it still looks good. And nobody knows how many miles are on the car. Somebody who's being cheap says, man, I'm not going to spend any money on sneakers. Someone who's frugal will say, I'm going to get sneakers, but I'm going to use a coupon, or I'm going to use slick deals. If we look at what slick deals is, and we'll talk about this more, is a website that has all different coupons. I use it all the time for when I'm looking for deals. I use slick deals to find all kinds of stuff. Here is some coconut water. Here's a Samsung Tab 4. You know, all kinds of deals that you can find. Here's some trending deals. Here's some featured deals. Here's a flat screen 50-inch for $450. Here's a small little 26-inch. Come on. But it's really a pretty good site. Oops, what about it? All right. Hey, finance and accounting majors, let me ask you a question. Is there a difference between income and wealth? Think about it for a minute. Is there a difference between income and wealth? If you're practicing delayed gratification, you're going to build income and create wealth. If you're practicing instant gratification, you're not going to have income, you're going to have a loss, and it's going to build negative wealth. So yes, there is a difference. If you remember from accounting, you've got an income statement and a balance sheet. On the income statement side, you have income minus your expenses gives you net income. The summation of your income is what gives you wealth. And wealth is assets minus liabilities. Someone who practices delayed gratification has a positive net income. Remember, they're saving money. Someone who practices instant gratification is always broke, always borrowing money, and has negative income. So what you want to do is, we'll talk about in a minute, you want to control your expenses so you can have positive net income, have the summation of that income, and build wealth. So there is a difference between income and wealth. Income is the money that people receive from work, government benefits, and or investments over a set period of time, usually reported as an annual number. Like somebody has $100,000 of income. Could be a gross number or it could be net number. So it could be gross income, less expenses. Sometimes people will talk about their income as gross income. Sometimes they'll talk about it as net income. But it's really gross income that we're talking about. Wealth, or net worth, refers to the savings, real estate, retirement funds, stocks, bonds, and trust funds. So every year or every period, you're accumulating income. And that income grows, and it's represented as assets less the debt or the liabilities that you have. Let's look at something. LeBron James, and this contract may have changed, I guess. He just signed a new one. Get back here. All right. But his NBA contract is, what, $19 million a year? Is that income or wealth? Well, as you know, it's income, right? Because that's how much money he's making every year. And this is a gross number. So when we get NBA and sports contracts, they're going to give us gross numbers. No expenses. But it's not wealth. We assume that he's going to save some of this money after expenses. And that's going to add to his wealth. Let's look at Steve here. He just paid $2 billion for the Sacramento Kings. To him, the buyer, is this income or is it wealth? Well, it's not income. And it's really not wealth either. This $2 billion represents an asset. And we would have to subtract out how much debt. Now, if he paid $2 billion in cash, which he could do, then it's wealth. But it's really the $2 billion less any debt that he took on will give you what his wealth is. But this is wealth. Comes on the balance sheet. Assets minus the liabilities will give you the wealth. So if he paid all cash, he had no liabilities, the $2 billion is his wealth. He probably stroked the check for that rascal. Most people mistake income for wealth. Remember, in this country, wealth gives you power. Income can lead to wealth, remember, because if you can control your expenses, then you'll have positive net income and you'll create wealth. However, if you do not control your expenses, you will not have positive income and therefore no wealth. So you must control your expenses, and you do that not by being cheap, but by being frugal. So the whole key to life, you can get educated, you can do everything you want, but if you cannot control your expenses, I don't care how much money you make. Because I hear people all the time say, well, if I just win the lottery, I'd be straight. Well, as you know, most people who win the lottery, guess what? They end up broke anyway. Because they never control their expenses. They say they do, but they never control their expenses. So as soon as they win the lottery, first thing is buy some houses, get the cars, go on trips. And I have all these friends who become pariahs and begin to suck money from them. And before you know it, they're broke. They'll say, well, we'll take some of that money and we'll put it in the bank and we'll save it for... But they never do. You either do it or you don't. So let's look at some examples. First, we're going to look at some examples of being frugal versus being cheap. Here's a couple of mistakes. This is Britney Spears. If she didn't have enough problems, add spendthrift to the list. According to court papers, check this out. Britney Spears doesn't save one penny from her $737,000 monthly income. What? Her monthly income is $737,000 and she doesn't save one penny. She spends zero money on education, zero money on savings, zero money on investing. Zero. $737,000 a month. So to help save her, they had to put her on a strict budget, and her dad had to take care of all her affairs. But she's hardly the only superstar to have this problem. Uh-oh, there he is, MC Hammer. We all know about MC Hammer. MC Hammer burned through $30 million through fancy cars, homes, and his partners that he was hanging out with. Burned through $30 million. So if I told you I was going to give you $30 million, you'd probably say, oh, I'm set for life. No. Remember, 37 is revenue, and then we've got to subtract out those expenses. If you can't control those expenses, you can forget it. And then our poster child, Michael Jackson, rest his soul, once was worth an estimated half a billion, $500 million. But he's had constant money problems before he died. It says almost losing Neverland, but he did lose Neverland. And if you ever saw that show with him, where he was going through the store just buying stuff, man, crazy. But if you're worth $500 million and then you still can't make it work, so I don't care how much money you make. If you don't control your expenses, you can burn through it. Now let's look at the frugal ones. Eva Longoria, her wedding in 2007 reportedly cost $1.5 million. But she scored a lot of freebies to give to her 200 guests. There was 18-karat yellow gold charm, L'Oreal, or all this kind of stuff. I don't know anyway. She says frugal runs in her family. She explains her dad would take her and her 3 siblings out camping with no food, and he would tell us that we had to live off the land. She says, I can skin a deer, a pig, a snake. That's pretty cool. But that's how you learn to be frugal, when you can go out in the backyard and get dinner if you need to. Bring it home, put it up in the pan, and add some hot sauce to it. Probably still tastes like chicken. Halle Berry, another star who practices being frugal. Okay. She says she's pretty frugal because she's always worried about when this trip is going to stop. So I'm saving for that day so I can have a life that is secure and comfortable. Berry talks about her mom, who struggled to raise her and her older sister after their father walked out when she was 4. So she's pretty frugal, twice divorced. Tyra Banks, despite a fortune of almost $75 million, she's known as a penny pitcher. She says, I'm frugal. I've always been this way. When I was young, my mom would give me my allowance, and I'd peel off a little each week so I'd have some to spare. Her taste runs from the Cheesecake Factory, and she's known to stock up on hotel soap. So look at the difference between those actors, actresses that practice being frugal. Notice the 3 that are frugal all talk about saving money, reducing expenses. If Eva can go out, and, I don't think she goes out there and lives off the land, but she knows how to keep her expenses low. Halle Berry talks about the same thing because she's worried about when she doesn't have a job anymore in the acting career. She gets older, that she's set up. And Tyra Banks the same way. Now, some people say, well, it doesn't matter if I make if I got $1 billion, I'm straight. Or $100 million, I'm straight. Well, here is the poster child for this. And let's see. Uh-oh. Went away from us. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, man. Let's see if I can Google and find it. Yeah, they moved it. Okay, here she is. Gotta change that link. But Patricia Trump appeared for years to be one of the nation's wealthiest divorcees. At the time that she divorced her husband, who was a late media magnate, he owned a lot of TV stations, and he was in the industry. She won a massive, at the time, the largest settlement for a divorcee over it doesn't say in this article, but I just happen to know it was over $1 million a week. That's right. Over $1 million a week was her settlement. Yet, with all that money, she ended up with financial trouble. And she ended up having to file bankruptcy and lose her money. So right now, at 62, with a new husband, they make about $250,000 under a contract working for Mr. Trump. Can you believe that? Going from $1 million a week to $250,000. Here, when they filed for bankruptcy, the couple listed $2.6 million in assets and $47.5 million in liability. So how did she lose all that money? Well, she got into the real estate and into the high-risk venture of real estate subdivisions and winery. And as you said, Donald Trump, who scooped up the winery and vineyard that she had built through foreclosure. Once the bank foreclosed on it, Donald Trump came in there and bought it for little or nothing. So she was getting all that money, lost it all, and now is trying to make some kind of comeback. But again, remember, she didn't really make that money per se. Her husband did. She divorced him and got that tremendous divorce settlement. But because she didn't know how to manage money, she lost it all. So don't tell me. Here it says, I heard she got the income on $1 billion. But, again, she lost it all. Here is an example. Over a decade, she spent more than $65 million using her own money at first and then borrowing money on the winery. The jewelry and home furnishings, when she sold it, raised nearly $20 million in 2 auctions. So you know if in the auction they got $20 million, you know how much she probably spent for that stuff. So unbelievable. Anyway, let's get back to it's always shocking. So it doesn't matter what your revenue is. We looked at 6 people here, 3 frugal and 3 that are cheap. Okay, when we look at frugal versus being cheap, we looked at 3 people that were frugal and 3 people that just spent up all their money. And then Mrs. Kluge, who at the time had over $1 million a week that went under. So don't tell me that you cannot lose money, or that you cannot you can win the lottery and still lose out. Because the key is, and this is what I want to talk about, the importance of education. And I want you to think about this because this is part of the class, this class on MIS. You know, people ask, well, why are you talking about frugal and being cheap and trying to invest in your future? Because it's all about education, and as you'll learn in this class, information systems and technology is the key of that. Education. There's a direct relationship between education and income. This is over a lifetime. This is from data showing that based on an average working life of 40 years, you can see the difference in lifetime income. If you have no income, in 40 years you average about almost under $1 million. You say, ooh, that's a lot of money. That's in 40 years. That's a little over $20,000 a year. High school, $1.2 million over 40 years, which is what, about $30,000 a year? Some college, all the way up to master's degree. So right now, you graduate from Morehouse, in 40 years, We're talking about $2 million a year, which is $50,000. I mean 40, but $2 million over 40 years, which is about $50,000 a year. Then you have a master's degree, doctoral, and then professional degrees. Your professional degrees are more of your a lawyer, a medical doctor. Here's another way to look at it. Education pays. Look at what's happening. We're going to talk a lot about this in the coming semester. People with less than a high school degree, the unemployment rate is almost 15%. And their wages are way down to $444 a week. Below the average. Unemployment above the average. As you keep going with higher and higher education, the lower your unemployment rate, the higher your earnings. And that makes sense because as we move into this digital age, if you don't have any skills, which means you didn't finish high school, you might have a high school diploma, some college. I mean, you don't until associates, not until you get to an associate degree, right? Where you have some kind of skill. Maybe you're a mechanic, maybe you're doing hair, or you're a plumber, or you're an electrician. But in the associate degree, there's demand. So you're under your unemployment is below average, is better than the average unemployment rate, and you're making just about what the median is. By the time you finish Morehouse, the unemployment rate for that is again below the average, and the revenue is above, the income is above. So you're doing the right thing, but you need to look at, do I want to get a master's degree, maybe a professional degree, doctoral degree. Here's another way to look at it. The percentage change from 2010 to 2012. Notice, high school or less, the unemployment rate really went up. That's what this is saying. Okay, because this is the employment rate. So basically, employment rate went down if you're high school or less because you have no skills. The computer can do most of the stuff that you can do. If you have some college or an associate degree, employment is up. Bachelor's degree, it's up even more. And then a master's and professional degree, it's up even higher. Because in our information age society, it's about knowledge and skill. So the more knowledge and skill you have, the better off you're going to be. Here's another way of looking at it. The percentage of adults, 25 to 64. I hope people realize that the majority of people have really high school, less than high school, some college. You're talking about in our society, those people that have graduated from college and more, it's less than 30% of the people. The Asians, though, are killing it. 52% of Asians have a college degree or better. 33% of whites. That's right. So not all white people graduated from college. Only 33%. But look at the African American community. When you graduate from Morehouse, you'll be part of only 18% of people that have graduated from college or beyond. The percentage of those that didn't finish high school is only masked by Native Americans and the Hispanic community. In some of the Hispanic communities, because you have older people that may have come over, part of the U.S., they just did not, they didn't have come from where they came from a place there was no high school. Or, I mean, let's say this, they didn't get a chance to finish high school. If you look at black, you've got a vast majority of them, right? 30, 40, 50% with high school graduates or less. 51% for Native Americans and 66% for Hispanics. If you look at college degree, 18% black, 15% Native Americans, 13% Hispanic. When we look at black poverty by education, less than high school, Look at how high it is. High school with no college, some college, and then by the time you get to college degree, the employment rate is pretty high. The unemployment rate is pretty low. Now this is black poverty by education, excuse me, not employment rate. And what I meant to say here is you have less than high school, a higher percentage of people are in poverty. High school but no college, still pretty high. Some college, and once you graduate from college, both the percentage of people in poverty is pretty low. So if you graduate from Morehouse, if you graduate from Spelman, the percentage of, or the chances of you being in poverty are pretty low. Now why is it that black women have a higher percentage of them are in poverty until they kind of snake up here into graduating from college? Well, we know that because many of these women have children. They didn't finish high school. Remember we talked about that. They may have to drop out of high school. Or they maybe finished high school, but they didn't go to college. They want to have kids. They got to raise the kids. Some of them go to college, get pregnant, and then have to drop out. And that's why single moms raising kids, it's tough, it's difficult. And a higher percentage of them are in poverty. The guys are different because they don't raise children that much. They can go on off to school. So this difference is because some of those guys may have got those ladies pregnant, and then they went off and continued into college. But if not, you still have a high percentage of the black males that are in poverty because they have no skills. Now let's look at wealth. This is unbelievable also. If you look at the change of median net worth of households, the economy, remember, collapsed in 2008. Everybody was rocking and rolling until 2008. After the economy collapsed, wealth for whites went down 66%, but for 16%. But for Hispanics, it went down 2/3, 67%. For blacks, it went down over half, 53%. So 2/3 of the wealth within the Hispanic family disappeared. Over half of the wealth in black neighborhoods disappeared when the economy collapsed. Here we are looking at from dollar signs, and there's no comparison, no matter which year. But in 2005, average white household had almost $135,000 in wealth. Hispanics had $18,000 and blacks just $12,000. Because how many blacks do you know actually save some money? Well, the craziest thing I see is when the new Jordans come out, and you see all these people running trying to get in there to get some Jordans. You don't ever see them running in there trying to get into school. But they'll run in there and try and get some Jordans. After the economy collapsed, look at what happened in net wealth. For whites, it still went down. It's still pretty, it's okay at 113,000. But for Hispanic, it went from 18,000 to 6,000. For blacks, it went from 12,000 to $5,600. That means in a family average, let's say median, which means kind of in the middle, you got blacks $5,600. That's all. Hispanic 6.3, while whites is 113,000. Remember, it's not income, it's wealth that creates power in this country. So guess where all the power is? That's right. And as an African American, you're going to have to begin to save money and be frugal so you can grow your wealth. Now, in summary, to be successful in life, there's 3 things you need to do. Practice delayed gratification. Get educated, which is to invest in your future. And be frugal. Save for your future. 3 simple things. Sounds simple for some people who are used to practicing instant gratification, but at least you're investing in your future. You hear at Morehouse, if not you, your family, government, The scholars, whoever provides you the scholarship or the loan, they're investing in your future, hoping that you're going to do well, make enough money, and be able to pay back that money back. Or if it is a grant or something, the company or individual is giving you the money because they just want to invest in the future, and they think that you're somebody who can help the economy. All right. Well, that's it for today's class. The reason I wanted to talk about gratification is I want you to understand the importance of, go on here, the importance of practicing delayed gratification. You want to be over here. You don't want to be over here. Practice delayed gratification. Now, as I said earlier, you want to go back through. Remember, this PowerPoint presentation is on our blog post just below where the video is. So you can look at this. Now, there will be an exam on this based on the PowerPoint presentation and based on discussion that I had today. That exam, along with the exam from Wednesday the 20th, that class, will be on Class Marker and available for you to go and take it. You'll have from Tuesday, tomorrow, until Friday at midnight to take that exam. Or take both of them, really. Take both exams. So you may want to look over this video again, or look at the notes, combination of both, and then take that exam. All right, thank you. Now, as I said earlier, next class is Wednesday, August 27th, and I will be there. So I'm going to have a regular lecture called Traditional Class. Before I leave, I also wanted to show in the blog, forgot about that, I did make a change. I'm going to have here, I'm going to put all the pre-recorded classes right here that you'll be able to then click through and find the class if you wanted to review it. Right, when you look at this blog on Monday, there'll be another post above this one, the one for Monday the 25th. This is the one from August 20th. Right. So you'll see that again on the side. You can look and see we're doing gratification here. So you can see it's a pre-recorded class. But we're going to do course summary, which is going to be a traditional class. Remember, it's not in 225, it's in 242. And this will be the first time you get to meet me, and we'll talk about the exam and a couple other things. So you can look and see with each class what we're doing, all the way to the end, which is the last day of class, December 3rd. All right, thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. Look forward to meeting everybody on Wednesday. Make sure that you looked at the first two videos for the pre-recorded classes today and last Wednesday, so you can go ahead and take your exam. Have a good day.